Many people here in the Lakes area were very concerned earlier this month after they found out that a level 3 predatory offender had violated the terms of his release and was on the loose. Our code red alert was actually sent out alerting people here in Becker County, and I think it was pretty well publicized in our local media outlets. But it got me thinking that a lot of people might have a lot of questions about sex offenders and just in general how they're watched, how they're monitored, because there were just a lot of people asking a lot of questions, and it was very obvious that a lot of people are scared and confused. Now, I'll start talking about, I understand that for a lot of people, one of these level 3 offenders being out seems to be a parent's worst fear. I've heard that from several different people. And me, being a single guy with no children, it's hard for me to comprehend that, but I understand that fear. Because the fear is real, but it is in some way a little bit irrational. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. First off, let's talk about level 3 offenders in general. We all know this is the most likely to reoffend. The way the Department of Corrections does this, and that's who controls level 3 offenders and monitors level 3 offenders, it's the Department of Corrections. A lot of people want to put blame on the Detroit Lakes Police Department or blame on the Becker County Sheriff's Office. They have little to nothing to do with actually monitoring level 3 offenders. In fact, the whole predator offender registration list, and it is called a predator offender registration list. It's most commonly referred to as a sex offender registration list, which originally is what it was used for, is just sex offenders. However, they have also added different types of offenses to that list of people they can rank 1, 2, or 3, which includes people that have been convicted of kidnapping and other what are considered capital or heinous crimes can also be labeled a predator offender. So even though the vast majority are sex offenders, not all of them necessarily are sex offenders. But they have the scoring system 3, 2, 1, 3 being the highest, 2 being medium, 1 being the lowest. The Department of Corrections does that evaluation and then assigns the score. Now, a lot of people have also asked of how do these people get out in the first place? Well, they're released after they serve their prison term unless they are civilly committed to either St. Peter or Moose Lake facility. There are 700 criminals right now that are civilly committed to either Moose Lake or St. Peter. And to be 100% honest, a federal court judge in February ruled that Minnesota's sex offender program is unconstitutional, and those 700 sex offenders currently incarcerated may be released sometime very soon by a judge if the federal government determines that's the way they want to go, because in their eyes, they've served their prison term. They've been committed to what's supposed to be a rehabilitation facility, and only 2 have been released in the last 20 years. So to the federal government, this is not a rehabilitation facility. In fact, locally, they try to have Robert Thomas Baca committed civilly to one of these places. He's the level 3 offender that is expunged earlier, but they did not successfully get a judge to rule that way, mainly because apparently he just doesn't have enough victims. And a lot of people are concerned about those level 3 offenders, and I want to get back to that. Level 3 offenders are the only one the general public gets to know about. It's the only one that we have media releases on. It's the only one that we really hear about because of that high level. Now, a lot of people have also asked me, why was there not a meeting on Robert Thomas Baca's release? The first 2 times he was released from prison, we did hold a meeting. Frankly, I don't think there is any more information the public could be told about them about him that would make a difference in this particular case or any other particular case when it comes to these sex offenders. The question is, what do we do with these sex offenders? The Department of Corrections is supposed to monitor them. Somewhere around here that failed. Somebody went on vacation locally from the DOC. Somebody didn't start watching Mr. Robert Thomas Baca soon enough. That's where the flub happened. Didn't happen for the PD, didn't happen for the Becker County Sheriff's Office, it happened at the DOC locally. That's a problem they got to deal with internally. Public notification meetings, that's local law enforcement that makes those types of decisions. But here's the scary part. There's only been 3 level 3 offenders that have been released to the Detroit Lakes area over the last 8 years. We currently have 45 level 1 and 2 sex offenders that live here in DL. There are 17,000 sex offenders across the state of Minnesota. Only a few hundred of them are those level 3 offenders. So the reality is the offender you hear about isn't necessarily the one that you should be concerned about. It's the ones we don't hear about that are around that really we got to be scared of.